Hey there guys, welcome back to ARTFX Tutorial Tuesday. I don't have that much time in the last couple of days to actually make some videos because I'm spending a lot of time on my website setting up the VIP section where you guys are going to be able to find additional articles about every single plugin that I use a lot, and there's going to be like really detailed descriptions of these kind of plugins and what they do. There's also going to be downloads on that VIP section. There's going to be a VIP forum where you can get very in-depth feedback on your music, and there's going to be additional tutorial videos for VIP members. So those are a couple of things I've been working on in the last couple of days, and because of that I don't really had that much time to work on this particular project, but I did a couple of things and I want to show you what. You know, we have the main drums, which sound really good. I mean, they definitely sound great. But I decided I wanted to change a little things, some kind of things, and last week we talked about the chords and the melody, and I came up with these two particular things, and together they sound like so they sound really good, but the only thing that I didn't like was the chords. Now when I play the chords, you can immediately hear that this doesn't sound funky at all. You know, they're way too sustained, way too long to be funky, because funk is all about rhythm. So if you want to make funky music, you'll have to think in shorter notes. So obviously this is not really gonna work, and although it sounds good with this melody, and that melody does make it sound a little bit more funky, but you know, I don't want to use these chords. So I did a couple of things. And one thing that I did is I threw these out, like that. Just got rid of it, and I made some new things. So the first, this top melody, I am going to use this, but I am most likely going to use it within the build-up section of the track, and I'm going to show you why. It sounds good with the main drums, but it sounds even better when we lay down a simple 4 to the floor kick drum pattern, like that. Oh, like that. And when I now play these two together, you're really gonna hear how that melody sounds great in the build-up. You know, it sounds really good when doing that kind of build-up style, and I think that is the exact purpose for this particular melody. I think I'm gonna use this right before the build-up and during the build-up, building up, and you know, this melody sounds really, there's a lot of notes in here. It's like every little spot is filled out, and because of that, I really think it's going to be most suitable for that drop section where we're building up energy towards that big sounding drop that is going to funk all your ears up, if that makes any sense. But I also need some other stuff, you know. I need things that work together for the rest of the track. I mean, obviously I cannot just use this throughout the entire track. And so I did a couple of things. The first one I created, and let me drop these drums back like that. The first one I created is a very simple version of that same melody. Well, not exactly, but it's basically a really simple melody. So it sounds like this. And this one, I mean, it's now played by a piano, and all of these particular melodies are most likely going to be played by totally different instruments in the final track, but I find that when you work with a piano, you don't really have to worry about the sound quality and sound characteristics of the actual sound that you're going to use, and you can just focus on creating that melody part, getting that melody, you know, to sound good. And if you have multiple layers of melody, to make them work together. And when you do that while using pianos for all of them, you know, you really need to think in a way where everything works together, because it's the exact same instrument. So if I would, you know, layer two of these together that don't work together, then it will instantly sound fucked up. And that's why I like to do this with a piano in the first place. So this particular one, it sounds pretty interesting. It almost has that Koan Sound kind of vibe to it. And that Koan Sound kind of vibe is gonna be brought out even more when this instrument is gonna be played by a bass guitar, for instance, and when these notes are gonna be played in legato, or, you know, not these short and stabby notes, but the longer notes. And there's a really easy way in Live 9 to do that. You just select them all like that and press this legato button, and it's gonna make it, you know, into a long clip. And now it will sound like, and you can already start hearing that vibe coming out of it. So I'm definitely gonna use that one as well. And I think that these two, even though these are overlapping in the notes, they still work together. So when I now play these two together, it's, you know, it's like a hectic mess. But that doesn't really matter. I'm just looking at, do these notes work together in tonality with the notes that are layered on top of it? And I can easily tell you that they do. So I've made a couple of other ones. I made this one because I said to you I'm totally not happy with the chords. So how do you make your chords sound more funky? Well, the most crucial element of funk music is short and stabby notes. So if you're gonna make long sustained chords, it's definitely not gonna sound that funky. And you can make it sound a lot more funky than with those long notes. So what I did is I basically used the first chord of the clip that I made in last week's video, and that is this chord. Let's see. It's this chord. And I've also added this one, which was the second chord of that particular clip. And I've added this one, which was, I think, the third or the fourth one of the clip I made last week. But I made them a lot shorter. And that is what creates the funky feeling. So this particular chord loop now sounds like this. And that sounds a lot more funky. So when I play this with the drums, you can really hear that they work together very well. And, you know, I tried two different versions of it. Let me duplicate this particular clip so I can actually show you how it sounded before. I had all of these and all of these fall exactly on the first beat. So you get that sounds good. But I found that when I put this like the offbeat, so that first chord is falling right between the main kick and snare, or between the first kick and snare, and that is what we call an offbeat hit, an offbeat note. So when people say like, oh, that offbeat bass is really sick, they mean that that bass is falling right between the kick and snare. So I found that this sounds a lot better. So if we take a look at the drums together with these chords, we can see that just the third chord in every bar hits exactly on a kick drum. All the others fall in the spaces between the kick and snare. And I do that to fill out the areas between that kick and snare to make everything sound a lot more full, a lot more powerful. Because if we would just layer up everything on that first hit, one, it's going to be a really difficult thing to implement into your mixdown and to get sounding right. And two, funk is all about that syncopation, that call and response type way of creating music. So elements work together, but they don't always play at the same time. And when you think about that, it's going to be a lot more interesting to listen to your music and to create music as well. I mean, it's a really important thing, and you just need to think about it. What works and what doesn't work. So with funk, the main emphasis also lies on the first hit, which they call the one. If you want to see some more about that, I'm going to include a video in the description box below, which is a video of, I think it was Bootsy Collins, a really famous funk guitarist, and or bass guitarist, and he really explains you what the essence of funk is. What is the one? The one is really important in funk, and if you understand the one, you're ready to make funk. I mean, funk is all about the one. So right here, the one is actually that kick drum. You know, it's like one, 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 yeah, one, ooh, one, yeah, one, and right now it doesn't sound like the one, but when the full track is ready, that first hit is gonna be the exact place where every time everything comes together. Except for the chords, because I want that chord to give a little bit of an offbeat character. Now offbeats also give a little bit more speed, a little bit more tempo to your particular loop. And I made one more thing, and that's this particular loop. Now on its own it sounds pretty, you know, uninteresting. And it does sound funky, but when I play this together with the chords, now it's all gonna happen. And you can also see that that first long note, it's actually filling up that one in the entire track. I mean, now we have that bottom note every time, that longer note in this bottom clip, that falls exactly on that first kick drum, which is the one. So together, the chords and that new loop sound like. And now you need to understand that the chords are going to be played by a different element or a different instrument than the bottom melody, and thus it's going to create a really interesting vibe, believe me. Also, all of these four loops work together. Maybe not in the best possible way, but in terms of notes and in terms of, you know, sounding in key, it all works together. So that being said, I can now start talking about something that I wanted to talk about today. I've got a plugin that I'm going to use for multiple sounds in this track because I think it sounds amazing. It is a sampler. It's not a synthesizer, so you cannot change the presets. But does that matter, you know? How much music that is really good music is made with samples, and I can tell you a lot of the music you hear is being sampled. I mean, there are plenty of artists who've become really big and basically just only use sampling and don't know anything about synthesis at all. But, you know, that doesn't mean that you just need to use sampling. We're gonna use a combination of sampling and synthesis to create a track. And for some elements, I found sampling to be a little bit more straightforward. So, because I want you guys to be able to at least, you know, work with me. It's not gonna sound the exact same what you are going to make, but I want you to at least, you know, have a same kind of sampler as I have. And why I want that is because most of the sounds in this sampler that I'm going to use are really, really good sounds for disco, funk, or whatever kind of music you want to make. So this sampler that I'm going to use is, by the way, free. And I'm going to place a link in the description where you can actually go and download the sampler. It comes with 1024 presets, and it's by E-MU. It's basically the same company that made my sound card, and it's called Proteus VX. So for me it came with my sound card, but I think you can download it from the E-MU website because they decided to release it for free because it is basically a discontinued product, and you know, they just want to get it out of there, help some people with the sounds, and I think it's really, really powerful if you know how it works. So let's load up Proteus VX. This is the actual sampler. It looks like one of the old E-MU samplers, like the hardware samplers, which is really cool. And I basically just want to show you how it sounds. So I'm going to take that chord loop and copy it over to the Proteus V loop track, sorry, and the thing is, when I play this now, and I see a lot of topics on the internet of people not understanding why their version of Proteus VX is not outputting any sound. When I play this, you don't hear a thing. And that is because you need to actually load the preset. It doesn't load a preset to begin with. So with the download, you also get the Proteus VX or the Proteus X composer library, which you can access by clicking this open button, going to the folder where you've actually saved that particular file, and you can see right here I have the Proteus X composer version 2.0.1, and that is the actual preset bank, which contains all the 1024 presets. Now, you can load this up, and a great thing when you load this entire bank is that it's gonna load all the presets in that bank, and the presets aren't that CPU heavy, but because it loads all the presets, when you switch between presets, you don't have to wait for the samples to load up into the sampler. It will instantly switch to that other preset, and you can basically just, you know, check which one sounds the best without having to wait every time, which is good. I mean, it's great, but the other downside to it is that all these samples that are inside of these presets are gonna be loaded to your RAM memory. And when you don't have that much RAM memory, it's gonna slow down your PC a lot. And the thing is, when your RAM memory goes down, your CPU is going to have to work harder, and thus your CPU will go up. And then, even though the CPU usage of this plugin isn't that high, when your RAM memory is filled with all the samples and it needs to actually run a lot faster on the CPU to make up for that, you're gonna get problems, you know. And to get around that, you're not going to load this particular bank, but you're basically just gonna stick with the empty bank. When you, down here below, you've got a couple of tabs. We are now in the sampler tab, and when you load up a particular bank, all the presets are going to be in this preset folder, and you can basically just click them to load them up. But when you just want to load like one preset, what are you going to do? Well, you can go to the library tab, and you're going to get this. So what you can do, you can now actually take this drop down box and say like, oh, we need something for this particular track. We need something that is capable of making chords. Well, let's take one of the keyboards. So I'm gonna take keyboard 3, see what is in there, open up the presets, and here we have all the presets in that particular category. So now I can basically just load up one of these presets by clicking it and dragging it to the sampler, like that. And if I now play this, we've got some sound. Now, this doesn't really sound that well, so I'm gonna bring up these chords, well, maybe 2 octaves. And it already sounds a little bit better, but I just need to find the right one now. And I'm just looking for good sounding chords. Let's see. Which one sounds good? Maybe a different category. Keyboard 4. Let's see what we have. Comp keys. Drag it. Oh no. Click that one. Drag it onto this. Now that sounds pretty interesting already. Let's see how that sounds with the drums. And it sounds good, but I want to try this 1 octave below. You know, it sounds pretty good. There's a lot more in here. Let's see. Hard comp 1. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Perky Rhodes. Maybe a Rhodes kind of sound. It's all just a matter of finding the right ones. And there's a lot of different categories that you can choose from. So I would advise you to just go through all of these and just find ones that sound good for the thing that you want in your track. You know, there's some of like these which are more like a brass kind of sound. Maybe that works. Let's see. So you can hear it sounds pretty good, and we can change a lot of things. I mean, we can change the decay release to get more of that, you know, fade out into it. And you know, it basically just works pretty well. Sorry, and you know, I really like this particular plugin. But I'm gonna take it out again, that MIDI clip, and I'm gonna insert a new MIDI clip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play those piano chords together with and I'm now going to use the Proteus to create a really realistic sounding slap bass. And that is one of the things why I really like this plugin. It also has great sounding slap basses. So I'm basically just gonna type in slap, and you can see we've got, what is it, 9 different slaps, maybe 8 because the bottom one is a vibra slap, which is something totally different. But if I load up that first slap and play a little bit, maybe a little bit lower, you can hear that sounds really like a slap bass. So one thing that I know is gonna sound really good with this particular sound is that a loop that I made during the past couple of days that sounds like this. And the volume is really low of these particular slap patches, so I'm going to bring the volume back up. And when I now make all of these notes in legato, you're really gonna hear what I mean. That sounds really damn funky. So we, you know, might use that in a track. I mean, I don't know why this wouldn't sound good. I mean, maybe together with you know, I think it's going to sound pretty good with particular elements in this track. And that is something to think about, you know, which kind of sounds work together with which kind of sound. It's really important. I could also, for instance, take that loop and that with the chords and that with the drums. I think that sounds pretty good. I mean, but if I take everything out and we're in the right key, down. So now we could, for instance, start trying to find some notes that work well with the main chords. You can hear it just works together because we're working in that same kind of scale. And see, what is the bottom note of that? It's D sharp. Great. Top note is the middle note is the F. So what I could do, for instance, is add one of those slap notes right below that chord to give it a little bit more bass. And you know, I can just take these and load them up in front of it. You just need to find a good sounding pattern. Now, the one thing that I really like about this are those faster notes right there. And I'm just trying to find something that sounds good. You know, I might change this later on. But it works, you know, it works pretty damn well. I can now go into Proteus, for instance, and try to find a good sounding slap that sounds different from this one. So let's try the slap 2 and see how that one sounds. Sounds pretty good. I can throw in slap 3. It's a little bit more soft, a little bit more lighter. That one sounds great. Slap 4 is good too. Slap 5. A little bit more of a... I mean, they sound great. It's good. Let's see what slap me is. Oh, that one has a lot of grit when you strike it with a high velocity. Compared to... And the aftertouch of my keyboard is actually controlling the vibrato on the actual slap. which is pretty cool as well. And I think the pitch wheel is gonna do the same, or the modulation wheel. Let's see how that sounds. So the modulation wheel also controls the vibrato, which is pretty cool, because the aftertouch controls the vibrato as well, so you can basically just play and use the vibrato to make it sound good. Let's see, slap back, what is that? Sounds a lot similar. Let's see. Sounds really heavy. And slappity. How does that sound? Okay, this one is really short and stabby, and that's exactly what I need, because this is most likely gonna sound a lot better. Let's see. Let's take one of that short notes. So you can hear that with that short and stabby character, you really get that good feeling of the slap bass. So that's pretty interesting. I like that. Together with the other melody and the chords. I think that sounds really good. And it just sounds great. And with just the chords, so you can hear that really sounds great, and I would advise you to just go into this particular library and basically go through all the presets. There's a lot of them in there that sound really good and also give very great results. I found, for instance, when we type pop, we get some really cool ones as well. Let's see how these sound. You know, it sounds a little bit more gritty. Some nice sliding bass sound in here. Sounds pretty good. Maybe I like that one. You know, you get a little bit of that slide character in there, which is pretty cool as well if it sounds good, you know. really distorted one. Sounds pretty good too. Oh yeah, the Seinfeld pop. I don't know, this one sounds great as well. I maybe wanted to use this one instead. Because it has a lot of character in the low end and top end, so it will easily punch through the mix. Maybe I like it more than the actual slap sound that I had in there to begin with. So that is just some things that you need to look at, you know. Look for that great samples. How long is this? Fuck, I'm already recording 46 minutes. I wanted this to be a short video. Well, that's not gonna work. I think that's not gonna be the case. So that's probably gonna be an evening of editing for me. But I still want to show you one more thing. Let's drop in a new MIDI clip. Because I really found some great sounding samples in this particular library. Let's see. Type in mute and go to presets. You can see we've got a couple of mutes. Let's see, which one was it? I mean, that sounds pretty interesting as well. Sounds pretty okay, but that's a great sounding mute, and sounds pretty interesting as well. A little bit of reverb on that and you're gonna have a great sounding muting guitar sound. So you can also hear how this is actually multi-triggered. When I press it harder, it's pretty interesting. Let's take that one. So you can hear, they all sound good. And that's for every one of these. I mean, it all works. They all sound good. And there's a lot of these in here. Guitar pick. Why not? Let's see how that sounds. More like a metal kind of guitar sound. this all basically just sounds pretty damn good. It has everything you need, you know, and of course it is all samples. You can't really go in and, you know, change the actual presets, but does that really matter? You know, that actually sounds like, what is it called? Seven Nation Army? Pretty interesting, you know. You can basically find great sounding sounds in this particular plugin, so I would really advise you to go to the description below this video, find the actual link to the E-MU website where you can download this package, and if you have any problems to get it to work, send me a message on Facebook, Twitter, my website, whatever. Send me a message and I'll help you with setting it up. I'll help you with getting everything to work. So that was it for today's video. It was maybe a little bit, you know, a little bit too much of me playing around with stuff, and I didn't want to do that, but you know how it goes. I've got so many stuff to talk about. I've got so many things I want to tell you, and I want to teach you guys that my videos just end up long every single time. I don't care about that, you know. I like long videos. I like videos that actually teach you a lot of stuff instead of just a little tiny bit of the actual subject. So I'm going to work on this particular track in the couple of weeks coming up right now. I'm gonna basically show you every week what I did and what I'm gonna do then. I'm gonna do a tutorial every Tuesday. Don't worry, there's still gonna be tutorial Tuesdays, and there's gonna be a sound design Saturday, upcoming Saturday. And let's see, if you have any questions regarding this video, my website, or whatever you want to ask me, just go to Twitter and tweet your questions at ARTFX STUDIOS, and I'll get back at you as soon as possible. You could also post in the comments below this video, but ever since YouTube changed up their new comment system, I'm not totally happy with the way it works yet. I like a lot of the new features, but some things are not working correctly, so I've got about 50 comments right now from actual viewers of my videos who aren't even spamming. But the thing is, the new comment system of YouTube filters out particular spam comments, but I found a lot of these comments that it filters out aren't even spam at all. So they've got a function with which I can approve your comments if they are being filtered out by the spam filter, but the only fucking problem is that as soon as I basically just select which one I want to approve, and then I click the approve button, but nothing happens. So if your comment is not appearing below this video, don't worry, it's just spam filter which is filtering out your comment, and as soon as that spam filter works, I'm going to approve all the comments. But for now, I'm not even getting notifications of all the comments on my video, so I'm still trying to find this out. I do like a lot of the new features. I do like the way you can now mention people in comments and stuff like that. Really great, but YouTube, Google, please make it work correctly first, or at least do a beta version of it before you actually release it to the public like you've done now. A lot of people are becoming upset about this. You know, I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed by the fact that a lot of stuff just doesn't work yet. You know, why are you even bringing it out when it doesn't even work completely? I mean, that's pretty simple, right? Yeah, so if you want to know more about these tutorials or whatever, if you want to know more about these tutorials or my music, go to my website. On that website, I'm now actually doing a couple of, you know, videos about particular plugins, particular kind of effects. I'm talking about what every effect does and what it is and how it works. And that is really interesting if you want to know a little bit more about your tools that you have in your library. Pretty interesting, right? So you can find those at my website, doing like 1 article a week, and I'm doing a couple of articles more a week, but those are going to be released in the VIP section, which is going to be online very soon. Next week we're gonna do something else. I don't know yet what we're gonna do, what we're gonna talk about next week. So if you have any requests, please post them in the comment below, and I hope that I see your comment. Otherwise, you can now go to my Google+. I've also got a Google+ page now on which you can post your comment, and those comments will actually end up on the video as well. So that's pretty cool about the new Google+ YouTube integration commenting thing. Basically, every comment below this video will also appear on your Google+ profile and on the actual embedded message with the video embedded on my Google+ page. So that's pretty interesting, but there's just so much stuff that doesn't work the way it should. Now, I hope you didn't got bored throughout this video, and if you did, then that's your problem. So if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe to my channel. I wish you a lot of great producing, a lot of great hours in the studio, and I'll see you next week.